Okay, so I thought rather than jumping to a finished grid, I would just again review that we're doing the exact same thing on the white sheet of paper. I have gone and found my center points, made my center cross, and then I've carefully taken my ruler and I've measured 2 centimeters away from it this way, 2 centimeters away from the point, consistently marking it this way, and lining up at 0 again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, turning it. Line up your ruler this way, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on all the way around, okay? And now I'm just matching up those points. And in the other direction, again, always starting from the center and then finding the first set of points. Making sure that the line is always parallel to the center one, meaning going in the exact same direction, not kind of angled or skewed. If it looks funny, then something's wrong. All of your lines should be parallel. Like I said, at the very end, it should look like a perfect grid. All of your spaces should be perfect squares. Okay, and now the other side. So again, this line here, we want to make a line parallel to it. So looking at the first 2 points, match, match, match. All right, so before we decide to label them, remember how I said that we went with 10.5 as a middle measurement here, and that was rounded. So to be careful to do 0 to 10.5 and 0 to 10.5. You might have noticed that when you gridded your image, that the excess space here was a little bit smaller after the first full square, okay? And a little bit larger here. Because remember, the center was actually 10.75, but we rounded it to 10.5, so we shifted the center slightly over this way, okay? That is why this excess is slightly smaller than this one. So we want to keep our good copy the exact same way. Double check your good copy. This side should be a little bit wider in terms of like the excess left over. And here you might have a little bit less, just like you have on your original photo. That's okay, because again, the only thing that's going to be in there, in mine at least, is going to be just hair, okay? It doesn't really make a difference, but again, we want to make sure that the face is lined up exactly where we had it here. Same idea here, okay? And your line work on your good copy should be gentle. As noted previously, we're going to be erasing the grid on here eventually. On here it can be nice and dark. On here you want to be a little bit more gentle with your line work. Okay, now to label. So we're going to be labeling the top, one side of the image, and the bottom. If you find that your picture prints out very, very dark, in terms of the labeling that goes on the side, you might find that it shows up a little nicer on one side over the other. So just choose the side of the face that is a little bit lighter. My image of Kate Winslet is fairly light all over, so I could get away with doing my numbers on either of the long sides, okay? But we do want to label the top and the bottom regardless. If nothing else, you guys can get away with fitting the labeling in those little white margins as well. So that's another idea. Okay, so for the labeling on here, I like to take a pen or a very thin marker. And basically we're going to begin with the very first full square of our image. Okay, if you take a look at the one that I already did, the first square is going to get both a number and a letter. So the first square is 1A. Okay, so we're going to go to our image here and we're going to give it a 1 in the corner here and an A on top. Okay, and then we're just going to continue natural fashion with the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J is our last square here. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom of the image. So we're just going to slide it right down, okay, to the bottom. And again, in the first square, we'll start with A at the bottom. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J is the last one, okay? Now, an important thing to note is what letters you have hugging or surrounding your highlighted center point. Here I have E and F, and at the top it should be exactly the same, right? Because I started at the same point. It's E and F, okay? So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go to my good copy. I'm going to find the highlighted point. I very faintly highlighted mine there on my good copy. And I'm going to make sure, using pencil this time so that I could erase it, that the two letters here are E and F. Okay? And at the very bottom, again, at the highlighted point, I should have an E and an F on both sides. Okay? Now we'll go back to using our pen. Let's go back to labeling our reference photo. So the first box was 1 and counting down 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do your numbers on the inside or you can do your numbers even again in the margin if they show up better on the white space. 6, 7, 8, 9. Mine's fairly light, so you can see on top of the image. 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, and if you really want, you can do your numbers on this side as well. I find that the only reason I like to label the top and the bottom is because there's quite a bit of distance lengthwise. So when you're drawing and you're looking for your boxes, okay, it's easy to use this side and match up your letters this way, but when you get to the bottom half of the portrait, it's still easy enough to find these numbers, but again, it's easier to have the alphabet at the bottom as opposed to using these numbers and having to draw from the top to figure out where you are in terms of X and Y axis. Okay, so we have the alphabet running along the top, A, B, C. We notice that E and F are the center points. Same thing on the bottom, okay? We made sure that these center points are going to end up the same. And notice on the side here, there's a 7 and an 8 before and after the highlighted point on the long side, okay? So we're gonna do the same thing on our good copy. We're gonna find that highlighted center point and we're going to make sure that it's a 7 and an 8 before and after there. Okay, and now you can go and fill in the rest. So from the top, we're working from our first square. You can just, again, start from the beginning, A, B, C, D, E. E and F should naturally still be here. But just in case, I always like to pop them in, just in case, right? Sometimes we mess up and we accidentally start here. You might start labeling from this little piece here, and you might find that it ends up being FG, which would mess up the whole transfer, okay? So again, I like to lay out my center points first, 7 and 8 and E and F on here, and then just leave them and then come back and start labeling and just make sure that it lines up properly. So A, B, C, D, and I was right, E and F, G, H, I, J. I'll do the same thing on the bottom. A, B, C, D, E, F are already there. G, H, I, J. And I'm going to number it going down the long side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. 7 and 8 are there. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, perfect. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start transferring this image onto here. I recommend having a couple of sheets of blank paper. You can even take a blank sheet of paper and cut it in half. Okay. And what I like to do again is if I am a beginner illustrator, if you don't have much experience drawing and you feel overwhelmed by the image when you're transferring it, it helps to have a sheet of paper to just block out the rest of the picture, and that way you can focus on row by row, transferring whatever you see in each box. Okay? When you get down to more developed areas of the image that have more details, like the eyes or the nose or the lips or any jewelry, right? There's more information there. So when you're illustrating an eye, to avoid, again, being overwhelmed by everything else that's going on, you might take your other half of your sheet of blank paper and just block everything out. That way you can literally just focus on what's going on here. And then when you're ready for it, slide over to the next, slide over to the next, and slide over to the next, okay? So what I recommend, again, is just like a printer and an image coming out of a computer, start from top and do row, 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 and work left box to right box, just as you would read, okay? So nothing in here, something in here, something in here, something in here, and just transfer whatever you see using light lines on your good copy. I do have an example of a transfer that I began of another image. Again, when you're transferring, you're not transferring the values, the different shades. You're just transferring light pencil outlines of features so that you know where they are. Okay, so when you're transferring, again, you're just going with light lines. This would be a transfer of hair, transfer of an eyebrow, the tip of the nose, where the lips are, and so on. You don't want to go in and start shading or coloring anything in, because again, when your transfer is done, you might still want to tweak it, edit it, and revise it. So you'll still be doing a lot of erasing and moving around. Avoid transferring color or shades, just outlines of where things are, okay? So I'm going to begin. I'm gonna block off everything else. Okay, 1A, nothing. 1B, I've got nothing. 1C, I've got a little bit of hair. So I'm going to go to 1C here and just pencil in the few strands of hair that I have. So 1D, more hair, and she's got a little bit of her kind of darker hair in here. E, the hair part is an E. Okay, and then it comes back up towards F. Okay, and now I will bring it down to the next one. 1A, or sorry, 2A, nothing. 2B, continuation of hair. 2C, continuation of hair, plus kind of the area where her hair starts. There is a slight shadow showing here, so I could just really roughly hatch that in. Okay, but again, I'm not going to go in and solidify it just yet, because chances are maybe I want to tweak and move her hair around after. To E, nothing. To F, just a little bit of hair here. To G, H is just kind of hair flowing outwards. Okay, and then I'm going to keep on working down. So again, just hair here, and I'm not going to actually be getting any features until 4C, where I start to see some eyebrows. Okay, so you guys continue on your own, just working row by row.